She was completely into you. The messages were constant. The energy was electric. She'd light up when you walked in the room, hang on your words, make excuses to be near you. Then you did it. That one thing that kills attraction faster than anything else. And now she's distant, cold, barely responds to your texts. You're confused because you thought you were doing everything right. You thought showing her how much you cared would make her care more. But you just learned the hardest lesson in human attraction. The moment you made her your emotional center, you became invisible to her. Let me tell you something about desire that nobody wants to admit. Desire isn't logical. It's not a reward system where the more you invest, the more return you get. Desire is psychological. It's primal. And it dies the moment you hand someone your psychological power on a silver platter. The moment you do this one thing, make her responsible for your emotional state, she loses all respect, and with it, all attraction. Marcus Aurelius conquered nations, but his greatest battle was with his own mind. He wrote, "How much trouble he avoids who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does." He understood that the moment you make your well-being dependent on another person's actions, you've already lost, not just their respect, but your own power. Here's what actually happened. In the beginning, you were yourself. You had your life, your goals, your interests. You responded to her when you had time. You were interested but not desperate. You were present but not needy. And that's exactly what attracted her. She saw a man who had his life together, who didn't need her to be complete. That was attractive, that was powerful, that was rare. But then something shifted. Maybe she showed strong interest. Maybe she said something that made you think she was the one. Maybe you just got comfortable. But you started changing. Slowly at first. You started checking your phone constantly. You started planning your day around her schedule. You started needing her good morning text to have a good day. You started requiring her validation to feel valuable. And here's the brutal truth. The moment she became your primary source of happiness, she lost interest. Not because she's cruel, not because she's playing games, but because humans aren't attracted to dependency. We're attracted to strength. And emotional dependency is the opposite of strength. There's a concept in psychology called emotional fusion. It's when your emotional state becomes so intertwined with another person that you lose your individual identity. You stop being two people choosing to be together and become one anxious system feeding off each other. And women can sense this fusion happening from a mile away. They feel it in how quickly you respond to texts. They sense it in your need for constant reassurance. They see it in how your mood changes based on their attention. The Stoics had a principle called amor fati, love of fate. Whatever happens, happens, and you accept it fully. Not with resignation, but with genuine acceptance. When you truly embody this principle in relationships, something powerful happens. You enjoy her presence, but accept her absence. You appreciate her attention, but don't require it. You value her opinion, but don't depend on it for your self-worth. But most men do the opposite. They get a taste of female validation and become addicted. Like a drug addict needing increasingly higher doses, they need more texts, more attention, more proof that she still cares. And just like an addict, they'll sacrifice everything, their dignity, their friendships, their goals, just to get that next hit of validation. I've watched strong men crumble because they made this one mistake. CEOs who run companies but can't function when she doesn't text back. Athletes who dominate their sport but fall apart when she seems distant. Intelligent men who solve complex problems but can't solve the simple equation that neediness equals rejection. Seneca wrote, "No man is free who is not master of himself." But most men willingly enslave themselves the moment they feel attraction. They hand over their emotional remote control and then wonder why she keeps changing the channel. They make her the sun in their solar system and then wonder why she treats them like just another orbiting planet. Here's what she's actually thinking when you become emotionally dependent. If he needs me this much to be happy, what happens when real challenges come? If he falls apart when I don't text back, how will he handle real adversity? If his mood depends on my mood, who's going to be the stable one when life gets difficult? Women evolved to be attracted to emotional stability because historically, their survival depended on it. A man who fell apart under pressure couldn't protect, couldn't provide, couldn't lead. This isn't about outdated gender roles. This is about fundamental psychology that hasn't changed just because we have smartphones and dating apps. The moment you make her your emotional regulator, you fail a test you didn't even know you were taking. The test of self-sufficiency, the test of emotional independence, the test that determines whether you're a man who happens to want her or a boy who needs her to feel like a man. But here's where it gets interesting. The behavior that kills her interest isn't just about neediness. It's about what neediness represents. When you need her validation to feel good about yourself, you're essentially saying, "I don't trust my own judgment about my worth. I need you to tell me I'm valuable." And if you don't believe in your own value, why should she? Think about it from her perspective. She was attracted to a confident, self-assured man with his own life. Then that man suddenly starts acting like his entire emotional well-being depends on her behavior. It's like buying a luxury car and finding out the engine is made of plastic. The exterior might look the same, but the substance has changed. The tragedy is that most men do this thinking it shows love. They think constant attention shows dedication. They think emotional dependency shows commitment. They think making her their world shows how much they care. But what it actually shows is emotional immaturity. It shows that you haven't done the internal work to be a complete person on your own. Epictetus taught that we should divide everything into two categories: what's up to us and what's not up to us. Her feelings, not up to us. Her responses, not up to us. Her interest level, not up to us. But our emotional state, our goals, our self-worth, completely up to us. The moment you put something that's up to you into the category of depending on something that's not up to you, you've violated a fundamental principle of psychological health. I knew a man who was dating a woman he thought was perfect, beautiful, intelligent, successful. He was confident when they met, had his own business, trained martial arts, had strong friendships. But slowly he started canceling training to spend more time with her, started neglecting his business because he was thinking about her, started losing friends because every conversation became about her. Within 3 months, she lost all interest, not because she found someone better, but because the man she was attracted to no longer existed. He had dissolved himself into the relationship. He had become a shadow of who he was. And shadows don't attract anyone. When she ended it, he was devastated, not just because he lost her, but because he had lost himself in the process. He had to rebuild not just from a breakup, but from a complete loss of identity. That's the real cost of emotional dependency. You don't just lose her, you lose yourself. The solution isn't to become cold or distant. It's not to pretend you don't care. The solution is to build such a strong relationship with yourself that other relationships become additions to your life, not the foundation of it. Your happiness should be like a house built on rock, not sand that shifts with every wave of her emotion. This requires daily practice. Every morning before you check your phone, check in with yourself. What are your goals today that have nothing to do with her? What are you building that exists outside of this relationship? What brings you joy that doesn't require her participation? When you feel the urge to text her for validation, stop. Ask yourself, am I texting because I have something valuable to share, or because I need to know she still cares? If it's the latter, put the phone down. Go do something that reminds you of your own value. Build something. Create something. Improve something. The paradox is beautiful when you understand it. The less you need her, the more she wants you. The more complete you are alone, the more she wants to be with you. The less her behavior affects your emotional state, the more she respects your emotional strength. This isn't manipulation. This is maturation. It's becoming the kind of man who adds value to every room he enters because he's not trying to extract value from it. It's being the kind of partner who brings peace instead of anxiety, stability instead of chaos, strength instead of neediness. When you master this, something shifts. She starts working for your attention instead of you begging for hers. She starts wondering about your feelings instead of you constantly needing reassurance about hers. She starts chasing the mystery of your self-sufficiency instead of running from the suffocation of your dependency. But this isn't about her. It never was. It's about you becoming the kind of man who doesn't lose himself in relationships, who doesn't need external validation to know his worth, who doesn't crumble when someone pulls their attention away. This is about becoming psychologically free. The Stoics called it autarkia, self-sufficiency, not the kind where you don't need anyone, but the kind where you don't need anyone to be complete. There's a massive difference. One is isolation, the other is independence. One is cold, the other is powerful. Women lose interest the moment you make them your therapist, your validation machine, your sole source of happiness. They lose interest when you stop being the man they met and become an emotional dependent. They lose interest when you trade your purpose for their presence. But they remain fascinated by the man who stays himself, who maintains his center, regardless of the relationship status, who continues building his empire whether she's watching or not, who treats her like a welcome addition to an already complete life, rather than the missing piece he needs to be whole. The brutal truth is this: the moment you make her responsible for your emotional state is the moment she starts planning her exit. Maybe not consciously at first, but something shifts. The attraction dies, the respect evaporates, the interest fades. Because she didn't sign up to be your mother, your therapist, or your emotional support system. She signed up to be with a man. And men don't crumble when women pull back. They remain steady. They remain centered. They remain themselves. You want to keep her interest. Never make her the source of your emotional stability. Never make her validation necessary for your day to be good. Never make her attention the metric by which you measure your worth. Build a life so full, so engaging, so purposeful, that her presence enhances it, but her absence doesn't destroy it. That's not being distant. That's being developed. That's not being cold. That's being complete. And a complete man is infinitely more attractive than a needy boy, no matter how much that boy claims to love her. The moment you make her your world, you become just another satellite in hers. But the moment you maintain your own center of gravity, you become someone worth orbiting around, not because you demanded it, but because you deserved it. Not because you needed it, but because you earned it through the simple act of not needing it at all. If this hit home, if this explained what went wrong, comment, "I am my own foundation." Because that's where attraction really lives. Not in what you can get from her, but in what you don't need from her. Master that distinction, and you'll never lose another woman to the disease of emotional dependency again.